Hey guys, welcome to the Get Creative podcast. I've got Kimberly, my homie from the Midwest, and she's going to be talking about some of the struggles that we all go through. In fact, when we were just doing our upfront conversation before the podcast started, she said something to me that I had to write down. And I want you guys to write this down too. In fact, I might even put this on a t-shirt and put the SubTo logo right next to it. Pressure is a privilege. Pressure is a privilege. It's not something that you should complain about or be a victim about. It is a privilege. Why? Because pressure is what turns coal into a diamond, right? And we all need that pressure. We all need that stress and that overwhelmed feeling in order for us to all grow. And so today we're going to be talking about the beginning point of somebody else's challenges and how they went from coal and have turned into a diamond, and they did not let the pressure buckle them and turn them into a victim. Instead, they allowed it to refine them. So, Kimberly, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm awesome. Thanks for having me. First, I would like to say that I'm honored and I'm humbled to be here. I'm going to try not to cry because my story has a lot of ins and outs and ups and downs. So I just want to take the opportunity to say thank you for having me, and pressure is a privilege. And here I am.
I love it. Thank you so much. Last night we were on SubTo Family Night and doing a Zoom with everybody.
Last year, the SubTo community did $5 billion in transactions, creative finance transactions, just in one Discord server. That's not including our Facebook group or other places that we connect as a community. You want to join this community? I promise you this interview that you're listening right now has changed one person's life, but it can change your life too. Come in, join the community, go to joinpacescommunity.com. I want to see you in there, and I want to see you in that Discord server exchanging deals with me.
Jill Jensen, one of the private money lenders in the community. And it was just so interesting to see, she had her hair all done. She was looking beautiful, much like today for you. And people will look at you and go, oh, she's refined. Everything's perfect. Everything in her life is this, that, and the other. And they forget that there's a story behind the person. And I'm watching the side chat of the Zoom, and everybody's like, I want to be Jill. I want to be Jill. Now, I know Jill. I've spent, she's been in our community for about a year and a half. And so she's been to my home multiple times. She's been to parties. She's been to community events. And so I've really built a relationship with her, and I know her story, and I know the back end of her story. And if she had the time to tell it, people would go, wow, that makes me feel like I can do this too. And so that, I think, is the goal of this podcast, everybody, is for you to understand that you can do this too. So Kimberly, I know you're gaining momentum and traction in the real estate space. You've even sold your personal home on creative finance, which is awesome. And you've been in our Gator community, SubTo community, and you've got friends and momentum and traction, and things are happening in your life, which is awesome. And you have a bright future ahead of you. But I imagine it didn't start there, right? There was a moment where maybe the beginning of this journey starts. And if I'm the audience member, where do you think that starts for you?
So it started when I was young. I left home when I was 12 years old. I had a lot of abuse in my household. It wasn't safe. I had emotional, physical, and sexual abuse. And so around 12-ish, I decided that it was no longer safe to be in my home. So I left. And in doing so, I always had those people that gravitated towards me, and they maybe gave me a couch or a home or a meal, a smile, a laugh. And I always had those people that saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. So from then, I continued to go to high school, and I worked at McDonald's, and I took a medical assisting class in our high school vocational training because, Motor City and Micro Detroit were big on trades. So I saw that as an opportunity this could be the building block for something bigger. I always loved to take care of people. I started off in a group home for disabled adults before there were rules and regulations, and that's a whole nother story in itself. So I always just wanted to pour back into people. I never wanted someone to feel like I felt as a child. And so I just was a natural. I nurtured people very easily. I really enjoyed scaling other people and making people happy. And so I latched onto that. And then I took medical assisting. That got me into the University of Michigan as a medical assistant in the operating room. And then I always, again, had those people, an anesthesiologist, a CRNA, a surgeon, a nurse, somebody that saw in me that I didn't see in myself. And they opened opportunity for me. Hey, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And from there, I went to nursing school, and I was the first person to graduate with a college degree in my family, which was exciting. And I gave my graduation speech in front of thousands of people, sick and just like, what is my life? And I've had lots of roles in nursing. I've been a director of nursing at a large scale facility, which led me to quitting my W-2 and going all in because of the care that I saw in the very short time I was there. I've been a migrant outreach nurse, taking care of migrants in the fields of Southwest Michigan. I've done ICU, CTICU, CCU, PCU, you name it. I've done it, camp nursing, ministry nursing. I've been on medical missions in the Dominican Republic. I have my own ministry in Southwest Michigan where I minister to people in the streets. And I just latched onto that, but I knew that wasn't going to, it wasn't going to, I knew I needed to do something different in order to be a kingdom builder, to take what God gave me and to spin it. And that was a big motivating factor to be that kingdom builder, because I knew that I couldn't do it without building that wealth, like, wealth without
Yeah.
cash. I signed this on my birthday.
What would you say? I mean, I had to write this down. I'm like 12-year-old leaving home, right? I've got a 16-year-old. I could not imagine him surviving on his own, to be honest. I'm sure he would figure it out, but you sound very resilient, resourceful. You also mentioned people helping you along the way. So 12 years old, you make this decision. The fact that you have whatever you were going through as a 12-year-old that made you feel like I am just going to leave this location and I have to leave and abandon what is going on. Most 12-year-olds in the world are not going to leave their family behind. You make a departure from this home. So what were you thinking, right? Like, how did you gain the courage? Maybe what was the mindset behind gaining courage, and who were some people that helped you when you were 12 years old that maybe we could do a little shout out to those people? You don't need to say their names, but who were these people?
So it was that internal gut that I've always used when I never knew that it was God, but looking back, it was my intuition, and I just knew I needed to go. And so I just packed up everything I had in my little bag, and I spent the night in someone's closet and just waited to get to the bus stop. And my childhood girlfriend, Tara, she had her mom come pick me up. I scrounged up enough money for a bus ticket to Beckley, West Virginia, and where they met me, and then they took me in, and it started from there. And then I moved back to Michigan, and then again, it was always a person that took me in to like help me get me to the finish line of where I needed to be, which is here, sitting with you, talking about my
Wow.
story.
Have you ever taken a personality profile test?
Yes.
Because there's this phrase that people say, they say, hurt people hurt people. And while I do agree with that, I look at you and, you were hurt, right? And there's a moment in your life where you said, all right, my father has passed away. I think I can now talk about this trauma that I had in my life, and we'll get to that. But you had this significant trauma that most people, it would buckle them. You, instead of as a hurt person, turn around and hurting people, you actually did the literal opposite. You went and heal people and lift people up and activate people. Like, what do you think it is about you and the mindset that you have that's different compared to somebody else that would take that hurt and turn around and hurt somebody else?
I just think that comes from God. I just always have followed that intuition of just taking care of others. It's always just been really, really natural for me to be a helper. I've always just been a helper. It didn't matter if someone was getting pushed off the swing at the elementary school. I was always that protector. And I just think it's the warrior person in me that just refused to play victim. And I just don't, I didn't want to align myself with trauma. And so I just used my gifts that God gave me to just better humanity. And that was with my hands and my touch and being able to calm people. Like, it's a whole different game when you have to do chest compressions on somebody pronounce them and then turn around and be like, hi, I'm Kimberly. I'm going to be your nurse for the next 12 hours. So you
Yeah.
learn to compartmentalize things and keep going because you have to, because people are counting on you. And that's kind of, I've always had that mindset. And I think that's what gave me the leadership skills to be able to do that in the roles that I've played, whether it's as a mom or as an athlete or all the things that I'm doing. Writing a book about my weight loss story, it's always been that, okay, how can I help somebody else? How can I tell my story in order to give people that hope and that just to be able to just not let something define them?
What's interesting is you had multiple major life events that you had to overcome. One of them being 12 years old, you made a decision to leave your home. You lived in you slept in a closet the first night you leave. I've never had to do that, right? I tell people all the time, I started life on third base, right? Like most people are trying to just get an opportunity to swing the bat, right? Like most
Mhm.
people are in the dugout, and then even some people are even in the stands watching somebody else have opportunities at life. And somebody asked me, why do you do all this stuff to help people? And I go, because I recognize that I actually started on third base. I didn't even have to swing. I have two parents that love each other still to this day. I've got 12 siblings. We come from a religious background. I learned how to work hard from a young age. So I never had to overcome a lot of the things that I think a lot of people are struggling with, which is I don't know how to work hard. Hard work is actually foreign to me. I see this with a lot of people. They never learned that. They never learned resilience and whatever else. So I feel like I started on third base. With where you're at, you started in the stands and you had to figure out, how do I get in that game? Like, how do I figure out a backdoor way to get down on the field and convince somebody that I should be wearing the uniform and just
Mhm.
be a bat boy or a water boy type of thing, to then work my way up to then have the opportunity. Like, you did not let this first situation as a 12-year-old, define you. Then
Mhm.
you get older. You mentioned something about, earlier you said, I didn't want to talk about my father and my mother until my father recently passed away, because you said I wanted to honor my father and my mother while they were alive, which is so interesting to me that you left the home because of the physical, the mental, and the sexual abuse, but you still had the respect for them to not talk about them while they were still alive and share this story. What in what world is that happening in your mind? Like what is going through your mind? That I share things about my childhood and my father's still alive. I didn't go through what you went through.
Mhm.
But I am just surprised that that is the mindset of, like, I held all of this in for all of these years until this person left the planet. Was it fear? Was it respect? What was it that kept you from telling your story?
It was a little bit. I did tell my story. So I was part of a women's project. I'm also a certified wellness and life coach, and it was a woman's book of persevering. And so all the proceeds actually benefit an after school program for fine arts in Chicago. It's on Amazon. So I started my story there, but I was very conscientious of the words I used, and I didn't go into it. I never used like who did what. And like,
Got it.
I did get punched in the eye once, and I almost lost my sight. And I had I had my blood vessels were broken, and the counselor asked me like, who did this to you? And I said, I lied. I ran into a door because I was always protecting them. And it
Right.
was probably a trauma response, knowing neuroscience on the choices on what we do and how that leads us. Now looking back, it's really apparent why I chose like the way that the route, just like in my church, women couldn't even vote. You couldn't even
Mhm.
vote. And so it's like we were talking earlier, a lot of unlearning, a lot of mindset shifts that I am capable, I am able, and I can do this, and I'm worthy of doing some of the things. And so I'm now starting to come out of that, and I've had great people like my business partner Frank Leone. He's like a brother to me.
Yeah, Frank is awesome.
Like some of the people that I've met in the community, they've been my lifeline of hope and just love. Like 10 times over, I'm not interested in doing deals. I'm interested in making relationships. And that has been
Yes.
the biggest part of my my journey is like when I'm gripping onto my little heart rock, crying on the floor, like, should I go back to nursing? Like, cause I still keep my license. Like it would be a call from like,
Yeah.
one of my partners, like Daniel Wang, and he leads the Northeast Gator group where I started in Gator. And
Yeah.
he would call it, and I'm getting chills. He would call at the right time and talk me through it. There was always that person, even to this day, like the Detroit meetup, somebody was helping me with my Canva. Another person was giving me their home and making sure I had food to eat and sushi and like a bed and a shower. So that's what community means to me. And I'll just like, I'm going to try to say it without crying. I'll never forget the kindness that complete strangers have shown me, because you go through a period where you're divorcing your old self. And I went through like a divorce. I'm starting the proceedings of a divorce. I got diagnosed with 13 different medical conditions. And this is all recent too. And it just goes to show me, I look back at the story, like if I did that at 12 years old, I surely can do it at 48, right? Because I have resources and tools and I have community. So it gives me that courage to keep moving forward.
I love that. Okay. So you made a couple of comments. So shout out to McDonald's, by the way. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
Amazing how many people have gone through McDonald's that needed that opportunity. And it's so great that that's a place that you worked. So shout out to McDonald's.
Hey, I want to interrupt this video to tell you about Squad Up Summit's coming up on April 23rd, 24th, and 25th. All the way down here, guys, check this out. It's happening in Orlando. It's going to be happening in Orlando. Why should you be there? There are going to be people that you meet there that are going to be your private money lenders, people that bring deals to you, people that you can recruit on your team. Our events are the most collaborative events in real estate. We're not just giving you information. Yeah, cool, awesome. If you want information, go to ChatGPT. We have speakers that will help you create the through line into your vision of what you really want to do. You'll walk out of there with a renewed sense of purpose, knowing exactly what you want to do, and more importantly, who you're going to do it with. You will find partners, private money lenders, recruit employees, whatever it is that you need in your business, it will be at Squad Up Summit. So make sure you get your ticket. Go to squadupsummit.com. Now back to the video.
Shout out to Tara. Shout out to Tara's mom. Shout out to them for stepping up to the plate and really helping you out. And a lot of people along the journey that were stepping stones in your life. Also getting into medical assisting and doing, jumping into those classes and you understanding, hey, I want to go do this. And you took the action instead of being a victim. So many other people choose to be a victim. I saw somebody being really rude to somebody else yesterday and very entitled mindset. You could tell they came from privilege. And I had to stop them. His name's Tom. And I said, Tom, you can attract a lot more bees with honey than you can with vinegar. And here you are, I see you being entitled and rude and condescending to this person that you're trying to get to help you. Meanwhile, you've had everything under the sun happen to you, Kimberly, and you're sitting over here expressing gratitude and having an attitude of gratitude. I just want to commend you on that. You had a food addiction. Where did this food addiction start? And like, what is a food addiction?
So looking back, I understand it a lot more. So when people that come from a lot of trauma, your nervous system always tries to protect you. You have two nervous systems, your sympathetic and your parasympathetic. And when you go through abuse, your amygdala and your hippocampus actually can dysregulate and get smaller. So it's literally like neuroscience. You cannot control your brain structure changing, like your brain size actually shrinks. And so I always loved food. I've always been a foodie. And so in between midnight code crashes at U of M and all the things I was then going through in my young professional life, I overate. I loved, and now I know it was like dopamine and my neurotransmitters and all the science that comes in. And so I just really poured into like food, and I was almost 300 pounds. And I just woke up one day and I'm like, this is stupid. Like, I'm telling my patients to do A, B, and C. I'm like the biggest hypocrite, like, get yourself together. Cause I had worked with transplants and people at the most vulnerable time where they had to trust me. And I thought I've always been, self-conscious of myself and my image of like, okay, how am I telling this guy to lose weight and I'm 300 pounds? Like, that's just it's a oxymoron, right? And so then I
Right.
just woke up and I was like, this is dumb. And then I just entered to win the Great Smoky Mountain National Half Marathon, and I won. And so then I started training. I got a book, Jeff Galloway, and then I just started training. And then again, I got into a community of athletes that people saw in me that I didn't. Again, everything has just mirrored my childhood, right? And
Right.
so I've always found those people to help me out. And then the half marathon led to a marathon, and then a marathon led to a triathlon, and then I went from
A
sprint.
triathlon is how many miles?
So there's different distances. I've done all the one that got me into real estate was the half Ironman. So it's 70.3 miles, 1.2 mile swim, a 56-mile bike, and then a 13.1 mile run. So I did that on my 46th birthday. Ironman.
Wow.
Shout out to Ironman.
Wow. 46th birthday.
2 years
How many
ago.
miles in the water? 13?
No, oh, no, 1.2 miles. But then a full Ironman is a 2.4 mile swim, a 112-mile bike, and then a full marathon that you have to complete under 17. And guess which one I'm going to do? I'm going to do Ironman Arizona. That's going to be hopefully before I'm 52.
Wow, that's amazing. I lived right where they did that.
Mm-hmm.
And so they do it in Tempe Marketplace or
Yep.
Tempe Town Lake. And I
Mm-hmm.
lived right on that lake. And every year they would do it, I would just sit on my patio and go, God bless you guys. Like they're swimming in that lake and there's 1,000+ people swimming in the lake. All their feet are kicking in each other's faces. They're all
Yep.
swimming over. I'm like, wow, what a stressful,
Mess.
it's a mess. Was that,
Smash
would you
it.
say in the half marathon or Ironman, would you say the scariest thing is actually the water portion?
Oh no, I love the water. The water, I'm calm. I just because you can always pivot. It's just like real estate. When you get in too deep, you just flip over on your back. You look up at the stars and you just chill, right? Like because if you stay calm, that you can float. If someone's using you as a flotation device, you just water box and keep it rolling. But
Mm.
my biggest nerve wracking is the bike, which interestingly, I had to sell my bike, my Trek. It held its value. I didn't the first time I traditionally purchased real estate, I didn't have any exit strategies and I had to keep my Airbnb up
Mm.
and going because I didn't think about holding costs. And so I sold my bike. And so that was really, special to me. The bike's always been special, but the bike has been by far the most intense. When you're an arrow going down a hill, going 40 miles an hour, like, and it's intense. You're on a carbon fiber bike that's like the seats like as big as a toothpick and it's
Yeah.
intense. But like when you make it to the run, you're just so happy to be off the bike, but the swim is actually my favorite.
Okay. I think the swim would stress me out. Well, so you had this food addiction from basically a nervous response, like a response to protect yourself to a certain degree, right?
I think
How
so. Yeah.
how did you like overcome that? What was was it just I'm cold turkey, I don't need to worry
Mhm.
about it anymore, and that was
Yep.
all there was to it, or were there like trip ups and cheat days along the way, or was it literally I'm cold turkeying this and I'm fixing this problem?
It was a little bit of both. So it was definitely cold turkey, but I've lost and kept it off for almost like 10 years now. I've been up and down, not knowing that I had these 13 different medical diagnoses because of Ehlers-Danlos. So like now I know I've had like 8 surgeries in 10 years.
Mm.
I've trained actually for 2 Ironmen. I trained diligently for 6 months, and then I had an emergency appendectomy. I was supposed to do my first half in Victoria, British Columbia, and then I came home and then I pounded it back out and I signed up for North Carolina, and then a hurricane came through, and then I
Wow.
ended up doing the race that I never said I was going to do. So again, it's like mirrored my life. Like I have to, anything that I want, I just have to work. It seems like a lot harder than the normal person because everything goes wrong. But I've kept my weight at pretty much, like a healthy standard. And I have had days that, when I'm stressed out, I have to be very mindful of what I eat because unlike any other addictions like smoking or drugs or gambling or sex or whatever your addictions are, food you have to eat at some point, right? And so you have to put sustenance in your body, right? And so you
Dang.
always have to be mindful of that. The other stuff, you don't need to smoke. You don't need to. But so then again, I just started pouring into others.
What a great point. Like all these other addictions, you don't need them to
Right.
survive.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And food is like one of these things. Like you imagine if smoking was something that you actually had to do every day before you went to bed, like just one cigarette to survive. That would make quitting cigarettes so nearly impossible, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you have to have food. And so what happens is this lizard in your brain, right? The one that justifies all your bad behaviors
Mm-hmm.
would tell you like, well, you have to have food. Like, let's just choose to eat this today. Let's choose to treat ourselves. We've done good the last 5 days. Let's treat ourselves. And then that treating yourself turns into a spiral of
Mm-hmm.
horrible decisions, right? So what does it look like today? What does your future business look like? What are you trying to accomplish in the finance world, the real estate world? What does 2024 look like for you in a perfect, like I have a magic wand, wave the magic wand, perfect world exists, end of 2024? What is that? What do you say to yourself that you've accomplished?
That's a loaded question, Pace. Like, no pressure there, but pressure is a privilege.
Pressure is a
So,
privilege.
what I would envision myself in a perfect world is that I would continue to like pivot and persevere with purpose with the existing disasters that I have on my plate now, and that I could get those across the finish line. I just opened up escrow yesterday and a 2.8 in Lansing with my new partner on the PMP on a deal. He brought it. We had a great call over the weekend, like a couple weeks
So
ago.
a sub two deal with 2.8% interest is what you're saying.
Yeah, 2.875, I believe it is. And the pity is
And
like,
what's the exit strategy on this deal?
so there's midterm and long term. So it's by a university, Michigan State University, and two hospitals. And so lots of exit strategies galore there. So we're going to aim it towards short term rental. And if we have to pivot, then we do midterm or long term. So that hopefully gets across the finish line. And then just continuing to work on other things, like helping raise private capital for a private equity fund and target the white coat investors that I can align with, just showing them what I've done with the kind of all my pivots and exit strategies and how I've executed them, and showing them, hey, you can do this as well, because they're country club, right? They want to like brag to their friends that they're like investing in real estate. So just to say, hey, this is what we can do. This is what you can do. And this is what I have done, to show them proof of concept. So continuing with that and just learning more about, PML and
Hmm.
all, like, I'm definitely a visionary connector integrator. I always say like I can survive in like Detroit, and not get killed, but then I can go to the White House and know what fork to use and have a intelligent conversation, right? Like I'm a chameleon. I can fit in anywhere
I
and
love
just
that.
be able to adapt and conquer whatever goals. And that's kind of how I feel like I'm not hoping, I'm knowing, let me change my wording, that that's going to be skyrocketed throughout this year. Like 2024 is definitely my year. I've been putting in a lot of work, and now I'm seeing the fruition of all that hard work and sacrifice, pay off. So just continuing to just refine and scale, safely and securely, slowly, in the right way, in order to just continue to help others and connect people. And I can't wait for the golden ticket. I've connected with so many, because our LLC is top tier certified as well. So I have lots of interviews next week to bring some TCs on board and some integrators. And my goal would to be, as care homes, is to integrate like real estate with a business and my love of humanity. Unfortunately, I've underwritten like 3 of them. I just haven't been able to execute one because of like legislative stuff. So I'm working with different like lawyers and stuff up at the state capitol to get information out. Like, you can't do this. We're 1.3 million beds short, and you're going to close down 60% of the small AFC homes where, interestingly, I started, right? And so it's a special place in my heart that I
Right.
am now, it seems like I'm always pivoting and exit, knowing my exit strategies. And so just continue to do all that stuff. And just, I do deals that make sense to me where I'm at in that part of my life. So I can be the mom to my 2 teenage boys and go to their wrestling meets and not have to worry about being at a bedside for 13 hours and then being locked in for 16 because a code happens at shift change and I'm
Yeah.
the charge nurse that day.
Yeah, what I love about our community is that your path is not just perfectly acceptable in terms of, my path, Pace's path was last year I wanted 1,000 doors and I wanted to build a massive team and be an empire builder, all that stuff. And then the reality is the luxury that other people are looking for in their life is peace, progress, personal time with their family, et cetera. And if you can utilize real estate or finance to, number one, progress yourself mentally,
Mm-hmm.
and spiritually as well, right? And your mindset. And then also be able to still spend time with your family and not be out of balance with all of those things. Sometimes that's the greatest luxury you could ever ask for instead of
Yes.
$20 million in real estate purchase this year. And
Mm-hmm.
I love that answer. The answer that you gave was the answer I think everybody should have, which is I just want to progress. I want to be better at the end of the year than I am today. If I acquire some properties along the way, amazing. You're already doing that. You have traction in that regard. You have amazing partners from our community that are surrounding you, that are bolstering you up and providing that support. And in turn, there's other people in this community that absolutely love and adore you because of the nurturing aspect that you bring to the table. And people need that on their team, right? They need that spirit and that energy on their team. And if at the end of the year, I think what a lot of people get caught up in, me specifically, is that it's like it comes down to a number of doors in my portfolio and how much those are worth and what they cash flow. And that was not your answer. Your answer was, I want to progress. I want to be better at the end of the year than I am today. And I also want to have more relationships that are meaningful to me at the end of the year. And if that was my magic wand moment, oh my gosh, like how freaking cool is that? Now, Kimberly, what are you looking for? Because somebody's going to be watching this podcast and there's going to be a lot of people that are inspired by, wow, okay, I can tell you there's going to be some people in here that had a life like me. Mom and dad, still married to this day, no abuse, amazingly, awesome atmosphere that we grew up in, and they still will find excuses for themselves. And then there's going to be other people that have had traumatic experiences like you that are using them as excuses to not move forward and progress in their life. Do you have any resources? Do you have a book? Do you have anywhere that people can go and maybe learn a little bit more about you or connect with you on a different level?
Well, it's interesting that you should say that because the ladies texted me this morning that does this look familiar? One of the
Oh yeah, Evelyn made that. That's cool.
Yeah. So my websites are being made. So again, right person, right time. I was struggling with working with VAs, and then Evelyn stepped up and then, helped me with that. And then another person, Nazmia, is like, oh, I can help you with a website. And so I was on a Zoom at 9 o'clock in the morning with some guy at Spain, like telling my story, and we all had tears in our eyes and we were all like crying. So the websites are being built out. I do want to get on medical stages to tell my story to other healthcare professionals, because my genetic condition, Ehlers-Danlos, they're saying that it's not so much that it's rare, that it's misdiagnosed. And so I've been like gaslit my whole entire life by my own community, right? And so I wanna be able to get up on medical stages and tell my story. So I'm having my website built for speaking, and so then my website too for Clear to Close, what I'm doing with Frank and Daniel and a few other partners, and just tying it all in, because my vision is to get up on medical stages. I love travel, bring my kids along, put them in, part of my paycheck, and then get up on stage, get paid for it, and then be able to then have that one-on-one with those white coat investors and being like, hey, this is what I've done, come over here and see what else I have to offer, right? And just open up the table very naturally and organically like that, just helping people, because I have a lot of people counting on me. Like my godchild she was adopted from the Ukraine with fetal alcohol syndrome, and she's in a hospital currently, the only hospital in the country, and they need respite care. They need single family homes to have staff in there so the parents can drop them off. So she's another why. If I can get a good backing in the medical arena and people can hear my story and know what I'm doing, then I can help people on a whole different scale, right? So that is like another goal of mine, to help her, because she's in Metro Detroit, to get a house eventually when she comes home, so her parents who one's a special ed teacher and the other one's an engineer, to be able to drop their, daughter and know that that she's safe. So I'm looking for people that are smarter than me as far as like integration and computers and websites, and just being able to work with other, like handing off to be able to delegate, validate, and just being able to execute my vision. So just bringing on those kind of integrators that maybe don't want to be in the spotlight, but can help me so I don't have to worry about tasks that take up all my time, and to be able to just say, hey, can you do this for me? And then have that person like know what I want because they've worked closely with me, and to be able to just help me take the load off of my back. Like this weekend, right? When I was driving through a snow squall, I had somebody coming out and like videoing, and someone helping me with, canvas. Those are the kind of people that I'm looking to bring on our team to just help execute my vision.
Okay, cool. I love that. How can people connect with you? How can they reach out to you?
I'm Brandy because I'm going through a divorce. And so like right now, my last name's Mahalik, but I didn't know that you could actually pick your name. And so someone's like, yeah, you can pick your new last name. And so my maiden name is Blackwell, but since it came with like trauma, I'm like, I can't go back to my maiden name because like, it made me what I am today, but I want to keep a little bit. So I chose Blackstone. And so, because stones, yeah, right. So again, here's my heart rock that I always find on Lake Michigan or my beach glass when I'm having my breakdowns and like, what is my life? And then I always get that like sign that I'm on the right path. And so I figured stones can get broken down and then they can become sand, and they can, literally be a cushion underneath your feet. And so I kept part and then combining the old with the new with meaning. And that's how I live my life, with intention. Everything that I do has intention behind it, whether I'm gifting somebody, a gold, or not a gold coin, but a silver coin, because I know that it's a hard asset and it's special, and it's not just like a monetary zelling, So I always move with intention. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. That's just my goal, to continue to do that with real estate, with speaking. I'm writing my second book, Up North, Gone South, Fact, Fiction, or Fantasy. So I'm on chapter 3. I also have
title. That's a great title.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I have a kid's book too that I just need illustrated, and so yeah, I have a lot of different things going on that I need to just basically integrate. I would still like to do like wellness coaching because I still teach CPR. I'm on a state board for prevention of cardiac death in youth, and so I still like to work, with medical professionals getting AEDs into schools, because unlike jails where they're required, it's not required in most states to have an AED. And cardiac arrest is a health crisis post-COVID with a lot of arrhythmias. And so that's something that I'm passionate about. So I want to be able to use real estate as a vehicle so I can continue to expand on a different level my medical side, right? But be able to get on that stage where I can talk at, an opening at the state capitol, be like, okay, these are the changes that we need to see in healthcare. And just so I have a better following, so I can leverage other people's platforms in order to push my good agenda, right, of helping others.
I love that. Well, I appreciate you spending time with me today. I'm inspired. I'm going to share this episode with anybody that comes in my DMs and says, I'm having a hard time doing X, Y, and Z. And your story will remind people how lucky they really have it. And if they don't have it lucky, if they maybe had been dealt some cards similar to the cards that you were dealt, you can utilize those as chapters in your future book, and they should be part of your story that inspire other people. So thank you for coming on the show today, Kimberly. I appreciate you.
Thank you.